5 people you must avoid in old age, even family. There's something sacred about growing older, not just the wrinkles, not just the stories, but the quiet knowing, the sense that you no longer owe everyone a version of yourself that fits their comfort. And yet, even in old age, especially in old age, people will test your boundaries. They'll say, "You've changed." They'll say, "But we're family." They'll ask for more than you have left to give and then guilt you for saying no. But here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. Not everyone gets to walk with you into the final chapters of your life, not even the people who share your blood, because peace in this season of life is not a luxury, it's a necessity. You've spent decades learning, loving, hurting, giving, breaking, rebuilding. You've walked through fire, sometimes quietly, sometimes screaming, and now you deserve to rest in the company of those who respect your scars, not those who reopen them. So this isn't about cutting people off out of spite. It's about choosing yourself without apology. It's about asking a hard but powerful question: who still deserves access to me now that I finally understand my worth? Let's talk about the 5 types of people you must avoid in old age, even if they're family. Because your peace, it's the legacy you leave behind. There's a moment in life when you realize that not every phone call is an act of love. Some are just disguised requests, masked in small talk, wrapped in manipulation, and you've heard it too many times. "Hey, how are you?" But before you even answer, they're already asking for a favor, money, a ride, a connection, a piece of you. And every time, a little part of you feels invisible, not because they don't see you, but because they only see what you can give. These are the people who vanish in your hardest moments but suddenly appear when they're drowning, expecting you to be their lifeboat, not once asking if you're tired, not once wondering if you have the strength left to carry someone else's weight. And because you've always had a soft heart, you've answered, you've shown up, you've given more than they even realize, and still, they never stayed. There's a cruelty in being needed, but not valued, being remembered only in moments of crisis, but forgotten in moments of joy. They don't celebrate you. They don't check in just to say, "I was thinking of you." They only show up with an empty cup, expecting you to fill it, even when yours is already running dry. But you're older now, wiser, and you've earned the right to ask who is still calling me out of love, and who is calling me out of convenience. Because love doesn't take without giving. Real connection isn't just what someone needs from you, it's how they hold you even when they don't. You are not an emergency contact for people who are never there for your everyday life. You deserve to be cherished, not just needed, to be remembered, not just required. And the older you get, the clearer this becomes. Your time is a gift, and not everyone should be allowed to unwrap it. You told them what hurt, you told them what was too much. You asked, maybe even begged, for space, for peace, for just a little bit of grace, and they didn't listen. Or worse, they heard you, and chose to keep crossing the line anyway. Maybe they were family. Maybe they thought their closeness gave them a pass. Maybe they said things like, "You're too sensitive. Don't take it so personally. I'm just being honest." But it wasn't honesty. It was intrusion. It was a refusal to see your boundaries as sacred. They treated your emotional limits like they were optional. And every time you tried to pull back, even just a little, they made you feel guilty, like you were abandoning them, like protecting your peace made you selfish. But here's what you know now, what age and experience have carved into your bones. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. And anyone who makes you feel ashamed for protecting yourself was never really protecting you in the first place. See, boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. You're not locking people out. You're deciding who gets to come in and how far they're allowed to go. In your younger years, maybe you let people get too close, too quickly, too deeply. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. You excused the red flags because you believed love meant endurance. But now you understand. Love without respect is not love. It's control. And people who continue to disrespect your boundaries, even as you age, even as you soften, aren't just being careless. They're showing you exactly who they've always been. So stop explaining yourself. Stop shrinking your truth to keep someone else comfortable. You've earned the right to say, "This is my line," and if you can't honor it, you don't get to walk beside me. Because in this season of your life, you don't need to fight for space. You just need to claim it, and let the ones who don't respect your peace fall away, gracefully and permanently. They were there when you cried, but not with you. They heard your heartbreak, but didn't listen. They looked at your wounds and said things like, "You're overreacting. That was a long time ago. Other people have it worse." And with every word, they made your pain feel like a burden, instead of something sacred. Maybe it was when you were grieving a loss, and they acted like you should bounce back. Maybe it was when you opened up about a trauma you kept buried for years, and they laughed. Maybe it was when your voice trembled, your walls fell, and they rolled their eyes like your truth was too heavy to carry. And for a while you believed them. You started hiding the hurt. You smiled through the ache. You told yourself, "Maybe I am too much. Maybe I should just keep it to myself." But now you know better. You know that anyone who dismisses your pain is not emotionally safe, that the people who love you truly love you, don't need your suffering to be convenient or easy. They sit with it, they honor it, they never shame you for feeling deeply. Because here's the thing about aging, you start to treasure your emotional truth like gold. You stop trying to convince people of your pain. You stop handing your story to those who only want to edit it. You realize that your healing is not up for debate, your softness is not weakness. And your past, your grief, your quiet battles, they all made you into someone worth loving exactly as you are. So you begin to walk away from the ones who invalidated you, from the ones who told you to toughen up, instead of offering tenderness, from the ones who used your pain as proof that you were the problem. Let them go, not out of anger, but out of reverence for your own heart, because you're not here to explain your scars anymore. You're here to protect them, and anyone who couldn't hold your pain with care has no place in your peace. It's subtle at first. They downplay your joy. They shift the spotlight. They always have a story that's just a little better than yours. You share a small win, and they tell you why it's not a big deal. You mention your child's success, and they respond with how their child is doing even more. You talk about your struggles, and they somehow suffered more, just to reclaim the attention. And here's the part that hurts the most. Sometimes it's someone you thought would always cheer for you, a sibling, a cousin, a lifelong friend, someone you celebrated with when life gave them good news. But when it's your turn to shine, even a little, they get uncomfortable. Suddenly everything becomes a comparison, a competition, as if your growth threatens them, as if there's not enough joy to go around. It's exhausting. And maybe you spent years trying to make it work, trying to dim yourself just enough to keep the peace. But now you know better. Your light doesn't need to be small, so someone else can feel tall. Because here's what aging teaches you. There is no competition where there is real connection. Real love doesn't measure, it multiplies. Real friendship doesn't envy, it empowers. You're not here to keep score. You're not trying to prove anything. You've already lived through enough to know that true fulfillment comes from within, not from comparison. So let them keep their scoreboard. Let them one up, interrupt, and chase validation. You're choosing a different path now, one where people clap when you win, where laughter isn't laced with envy, where being seen doesn't mean being sized up. You've entered a chapter of your life where peace is more valuable than praise, where depth matters more than display, and where anyone who makes your joy feel like a competition no longer deserves a seat at your table. Let them go with grace. You're not running that race anymore. They hurt you, not by accident, not once, not lightly. They said things that cut deep. They made choices that cracked you open. And when the dust settled, you waited for even a whisper of regret, but it never came. No apology, no accountability, just silence, or worse, gaslighting. They pretended like it never happened, like your pain was a phase, like your memory was the real problem. And maybe you tried to keep the peace. Maybe you forgave them out loud just to avoid the tension. Maybe you smiled through family dinners and pretended to forget while your soul was still holding the wound. But something changes as you grow older. You stop pretending. You stop tolerating the weight of unspoken apologies just to make someone else comfortable. You start asking yourself the hard question, why am I still holding space for someone who never held my heart with care? Because an apology isn't just words, it's acknowledgement. It's someone choosing to sit in the mess they made and say, I see what I did. I know it hurt you. I'm sorry. And the absence of that apology, it's a message all its own. It says, your pain doesn't matter to me. It says, my pride is more important than your healing, and that is not someone you need close to you anymore. Not in this season, not in this lifetime. Because here's the truth, you've earned the right to speak. You can forgive people without allowing them back into your life. Forgiveness is for your peace. Distance is for your protection. You are not bitter for walking away. You are brave for choosing to stop bleeding, just to keep others comfortable. And maybe they'll never say they're sorry. But you don't need to carry the silence anymore. You can let go with love, with clarity, and with the deep understanding that you never needed their permission to heal. You've changed, not overnight, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, through heartbreaks, awakenings, long walks with your own thoughts, and nights where your tears became prayers. You've softened. You've let go of things that once consumed you. You don't react the same. You don't rush to prove your point. You've made peace more important than being right, and yet, someone still rolls their eyes. They say, you've gotten weird, or you used to be more fun, or they laugh when you talk about your new perspective on life, your desire for solitude, your need for boundaries, stillness, or healing. They mock your calm, they diminish your clarity, they make jokes about the very growth that saved you, and maybe before that would have shaken you. Maybe years ago you would have shrunk back into the version of yourself they were more comfortable with, louder, angrier, easier to manipulate, easier to dismiss, but not now, not after everything you've walked through to become this version of you, because growth is not just about changing your habits, it's about returning to your truth, and anyone who mocks your growth is showing you they were more invested in your brokenness than in your becoming, and it hurts, doesn't it? To be seen evolving, and still not accepted, to be more peaceful, and still made to feel ridiculous for it. But here's the gift of growing older. You no longer need anyone's approval to evolve. You no longer need to explain the shifts in your spirit to those who are committed to misunderstanding them. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to outgrow dynamics, conversations, even entire relationships. You're allowed to become gentler, wiser, quieter, happier, and let people go who only knew how to connect with your chaos. So the next time someone mocks your growth, smile, not because it doesn't hurt, but because it confirms what you already knew. They're not meant to follow you where you're going. You're building a life rooted in peace now, and not everyone deserves front row access to that kind of beauty. Conclusion: as you enter the later chapters of life, you come to a profound realization. Your energy, your peace, and your love are sacred. You've spent years pouring yourself into relationships, into family, into work, into people, often giving more than you had to give. But now, the world asks you a different question: who gets to share in the fullness of you? It's not about cutting people off out of anger, out of revenge, or out of bitterness. It's about choosing yourself. It's about understanding that not everyone deserves to walk beside you on the journey to your final season. Not everyone can hold space for the fullness of your heart, your growth, your healing, and that's okay. You've earned the wisdom that tells you not everyone is meant to stay. Some people are in your life for a reason, some for a season, and others, they're meant to be a part of the past. Let them go with grace. Let them go without guilt. Let them go, not because you don't care, but because you care about your peace, your well-being, and the energy you continue to invest in what matters most. You don't have to justify your boundaries anymore. You don't have to apologize for evolving, and you certainly don't have to allow anyone to make you feel less than for the person you've become. As you age, cherish the people who celebrate your light. Surround yourself with those who respect your boundaries, honor your pain, and stand beside you in your growth. Because this is the season where your heart deserves the best. This is the time to walk away from the ones who drain you and lean into those who lift you up. So choose peace, choose clarity, choose joy, and most importantly, choose yourself. You've earned that.